We're going to go to Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports. And Easton, not a lot to talk about. Nothing's really happened over the last 24 hours to disgrace the local football team. But let's start off with this before we get into the big stuff. Bill Callahan's offensive line allowed 18 pressures and 4 sacks against the Colts. The Colts, who had 3 sacks and 11 pressures heading into this game total. Would you like to modify your grade that you gave him last week from a C to something lower?
Hi.
Hey, hi, Ethan.
Good to hear from you all too. I'm already not pleased to be here. I'll say a C-. I want JC back in the lineup so bad. You
that was
no
a great
idea.
No, I gave him a D+.
Yeah, I think you were F. I think I was in the D's.
Oh no,
we'll have to go back and check.
I didn't give him an F.
But not good last week. And when you don't play well, things tend to happen. The Tennessee Titans. I guess we could just call out the elephant in the room. Brian Callahan was forced to give up play calling duties. There's no other way around it, because he didn't even think he had a problem with it. Is the thing he loved the most about coaching is the play calling, is what he said in the press conference yesterday. What is going on with that?
What even is the question here? I don't even know.
Let's just have a conversation about, do we even need a question?
I don't know. No, you're right that he was forced to give up the play calling. It's funny to me that anybody listened to that. The fact that, first of all, going into it, the fact that anybody needed to even be told that he was being forced and not of his own volition giving it up, I think you're not really paying attention. Every time in the past, because this has come up a couple of times, and it's always been shut down firmly. On Monday after the game, his initial press conference for the week, he kind of left the door open, and that's why it wasn't hard to read the tea leaves when we heard that he was going to briefly talk to us before the coordinators yesterday what was going on. It was interesting to find out who they ended up giving the coordinator job, or not the coordinator, Freudian slip, giving the play calling job to. I'm not surprised that it's Bo, just based on the fact that he has experience, and he's already the one in the ear of Cam, and Cam is being given so much leeway to influence and change the play calling already. So I think it kind of just makes sense for that to be the way that it works. But yeah, he alluded to it in the press conference that he doesn't see any issue with his play calling. And he's said before that it's the thing he loves the most about coaching. So of course he was, and maybe forced is a strong word. I'm sure his bosses had him down in their regular meeting and very kindly and firmly asked for him to hand it over. And he did.
Do you think this is going to solve one of the bigger issues of this year, which is his in-game management? Because, nothing really prevented him from reading a rule book.
I'm not really getting that. I've said all there is to say on that situation. There's always a story with this team, isn't there?
Yes.
And stories don't mitigate somebody being to blame. I think it's just some of the more inexplicable things that have gone on this year, from the rule book thing to the end of half in week 1 to the end of half in week 3, something that I have written at A to Z Sports. It's coming out here in a moment. This team just needs can this team just get some normal situational football for a while? They need a stretch of some real standard operating procedure on the football field so they can quit being put in these positions to screw up. Or be screwed over, or some combination therein. You can, in fact, be bad and unlucky. I don't think, is this going to solve anything? Is the team still bad? Are the players?
Well, it just got worse. It got worse with trading Jarvis Brownlee Jr. So,
well, I think you're right about that. And they talk about, there's always a story there. If you want to talk about that, we can, but that's not. I find it strange that we're having a hard time wrapping our heads around that situation too. It seems very clear to me what has gone on.
Well, it's not their guy, right?
That's certainly a part of it. It's a culture fit thing. And
how does he not fit the culture? We've never heard anything about him not fitting the culture before, and it seems the Brian Callahan just said that it's not about the player from technically his perspective.
Yeah, he shouldn't have said that.
He shouldn't have said what he felt? He should have lied?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he shouldn't have said what he said. Listen, it's always really tiresome to me when we do this thing where we roll the head. And this is a thing that is not a Titans thing. A lot of Titans fans seem to think this is a Titans thing. The whole NFL loves to send out coaches to answer for the things that their owners or their bosses or their front office did. And it's tiresome 100% of the time. It's nonsense 100% of the time. It's not actually illuminating pretty much 100% of the time. And what Callahan needed to do today, it was gobbledygook. It was a bunch of nonsense. He contradicted himself. He should have gone out there and said what he said at the intro about how, we're on the same page. Mike Borgonzi made the decision that he made, and we're moving on. And when he said, that's all I have to say, that should have been all he had to say. And it's kind of his own nature working against him. It's a blessing and the curse kind of thing where we generally, the media, have loved that he is really interested in explaining things in detail, which is all more information is better. We appreciate more stuff from him, and that's a good thing. But when it comes to these situations where he's put in a no-win situation and he really should keep his mouth shut about the thing because there's nothing he can say that's going to put him in a better position because his bosses have put him in a bad position, and it's shameful that the teams do this. He shouldn't give in to his nature of wanting to talk more and to be a nice guy generally. That's what he did today, and it made him sound kind of dumb.
Well, I guess my question is, what if they're not on the same page about Brownlee? Or should he have just – what I'm saying is I don't think the staff really wanted to get rid of Brownlee, at least the defensive staff.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I do think that this coaching staff soured on him a little bit in recent weeks. I don't know how serious that is or how long that's been the case, but I do think there was some element of that. I don't really know whether it was primarily a front office thing or a coaching staff thing. I just think my opinion is that it was primarily a front office thing, and that they are. I mean, I don't think they're lying about the fact that they are relatively in lockstep on this. I'm sure some people disagree with the idea of sending away Brownlee. I'm sure that some people definitely disagree with the idea of sending him away for what they sent him away for. But it's the fact that they sent him away for what they sent him away for, a value proposition that makes less than 0 sense. And the fact that no other team in the league, the fact that he's been on the trade block, we know that New England called about him. Like, this is a thing that was not just a one-way Titans and Jets talking situation. That no other team offered more than the Jets did for a starting caliber cornerback who's 24 years old should tell you all you need to know about the fact that the Titans, for whatever reason, felt he needed to get out of the building now, no matter what it cost.
Well, I think that tells you right there that I don't think people were calling him them. They were calling the other team. That's how I would take it.
Probably.
Yeah, and so I think other teams can smell desperation. I know they definitely didn't call just the Jets, but I know they were the ones doing the calling, which also makes you lose all leverage when that happens. We're on with Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, talking all things Tennessee Titans and drama around this unserious franchise.
Well, Easton, any predictions on who will be the next trade bait?
I don't know, because I feel like this wasn't really I think the next couple of trades are going to be like seller at the deadline type trades,
Gotcha.
Not we need to get this guy out of our building type trades. You know what I mean? Actually accumulating value would be the next thing. So I don't know. I mean, I think pretty much every veteran on the entire roster is up for sale eventually. And I don't know, with some of the better players, like with Ridley, do you really sell low on him anytime soon? That feels like you're going to get jobbed. With Simmons, he's playing at a really high level. So if you're wanting to actually sell on him, it feels like now would be the time. And a contender before the deadline could really use somebody of Simmons' caliber, obviously. And then I'm not sure who's going to want the pass rushers on this team. I'm not sure who's going to want the Snead contract. I don't think the Titans are interested now that they finally got him back and moving on from him, especially now that they've already moved on from one starting cornerback. And then like Pollard, Pollard is like the one veteran that you probably would look at and be like, okay, you could probably trade him for something decent. That I wouldn't trade, especially with Spears out, just because his presence and ability to take some heat off of Cam Ward is a little bit more important to me than the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, whatever you'd get for a Tony Pollard.
Why do you think the head coach Callahan gave up his play calling. You said it's obvious, but you said his play calling. You personally said that his play calling wasn't an issue, correct?
Well, no, he said that in his press conference. That he
No. I meant weeks before, or when we brought you on. I mean, just in general, did you agree with that assessment that you didn't have an issue with his play calling?
I've never had an issue with the scheme. I think that situationally there have been times where he's left some things to be desired, but I've always felt that it was roughly average, to be honest with you, and that it was in spots was a problem, but not the problem for this team. Right. I maintain that the problem for this team is their inability to one, be good at football as a roster at the moment. They need time and development. We knew this, that there was a rebuilding roster. But also just like situational football and football stamina. Clearly, they don't have those skills right now for a number of reasons. I don't think. Let's put it this way: Hard agrees taking over play calling this week. I don't think they're dropping 63 on the Texans. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you get a little bit. Maybe you can capture a little bit of that coaching change bump magic that you see in the NFL, where for whatever reason it goes really well in week one and everyone believes it, and then it levels back out. Do I think maybe it's marginally improved and marginally improves the coaching staff as a whole, their ability to manage the play calling and the situational football? Probably. I find it hard to believe that it would make things worse. Like, it can't hurt, I guess. But is it going to change the fundamental issues for this team, which are they are largely a bad roster that's topsy-turvy with expensive veterans who aren't that great at football and cheap young players that need time to get good at football? And is it going to solve the problems that only time and development can fix? Is it going to solve the problems that only new player acquisition cycles can fix? No, it's not.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. We're with Easton Freeze with A to Z. I guess I have to ask you this, and that is Callie, after what he said at this presser, that Brownley basically shouldn't have been traded. That's kind of how I take it. He had no issue with him in the locker room. Nothing else makes sense. But since he did say they didn't have any issue, is he dead man walking and didn't give a crap, and that's why he said what he said? He spoke the truth?
No, I don't think so. I mean, let me be clear. I don't know for sure the reason, or if there even was a single reason why Brownlee was being shopped and they wanted him out of the building. All I know is that he was being shopped and they wanted him out of the building. And I know that there were some culture fit concerns. It's probably a handful of reasons why that contributed to it. I'd imagine the players that they have that are now going to take over in that role. Like, I think you're going to see more of Jalen Armour-Davis. Obviously, I think you're going to see more throughout the year of Marcus Harris, the fifth or sixth round rookie from this year. I think that probably played some part in it. But in terms of what Callahan said at the press conference, I think that he said a bunch of gobbledygook because that's what he had to say, because that's what these coaches do when they're trotted out there to answer for a thing they didn't do.
Okay, here's my question. You brought it up twice. Culture fit concerns. What's the culture?
I don't want to throw any I'm not going to make any accusations, because the things that I have heard that lean into that part of this decision aren't concrete. I don't have them firmly sourced. There's an article at A to Z Sports that I contributed to that Ryan Roberts, one of our college writers, published about an hour ago that cover some of the quotes that he has gotten from NFL area scouts today that are quotes from official team scouting reports on Brownlee back in the spring of 24 when he was coming out. And so if you want to point to some of those things as potential reasons why he wasn't a fit, you can do that. And I don't have it pulled up, so I'm not going to misquote it. Go and read it at azsports.com right now. There were concerns coming out with Brownlee about him off the field.
Why do you think we didn't hear about those? I mean, you and I talked about Brownlee a lot that offseason in the draft prospect process before he even got drafted. I don't remember hearing any of this.
Well, I remember, it's been a while, but I vaguely remember hearing some of these anonymous scouting kind of things that you hear on
Okay, I guess I missed it. But I may have.
I hear it on 40 guys every spring. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
I never quite lean into them unless it's one guy has some overwhelming evidence or there's something legal involved. it's you and I tend to have the same approach to we're not in the room, we're not a part of the process. An anonymous scout is saying this and not even putting their name on it. I'm going to take it with a massive grain of salt. And my hope was always that I'm in love with the talent. That's all I know. I love the way that he plays and his tenacity. I'm just going to hope that he overcomes that in the NFL and beats the allegations. But then when that talent falls to the 5th round, you can maybe then say, oh, maybe that had a part to play in that. But then he starts 16 games for the Titans, and I felt like over the past year and change, he largely did beat those allegations. I only ever heard small things about maybe he's a little high maintenance, maybe he's not the most coachable guy in the world, but I also kind of wrote those off as like he's a feisty young cornerback that plays with his hair on fire. That's practically an occupational hazard, in my opinion, to be a little bit of a crazy person. So it's hard to know exactly what these things mean when you hear them in the moment. In hindsight, it's easy to point to those little bits and pieces, those crumbs, and say, well, maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but I do know from the little bits of things that I've heard in the last 24 hours that a big part of the reason why was, and I'm just going to leave it at, culture fit.
Well, when you say that, I'm going to add this. All those adjectives you just heard and then now are kind of believing could all be just rumors. So I want you to take all those adjectives you just said about Brownley and then say, okay, compare that to Snead, who shot at somebody.
Well,
my bad. Allegedly,
driving the car.
He was in the car. So what do you think is worse? Wow. I'm trying to ask the question, like, what the situation is worse, whether who shot who. I wasn't there, but what is worse? Yeah. And see, this is what gets at me when reporters then are fed rumors about players, so then they go write about them, and then it's not true to justify what they did. How do you distinguish what's real or not?
I'm with you. And for legal, I'd like to clarify this is a comedy show. Nothing we say can be held against us.
My bad. I corrected it. I'm sorry about that. Yes, me too as well. But like you hear these different rumors, and what is? I mean, really?
I'm with you. And I'm not. When I bring up these reasons why it sounds like they moved on from Brownley, let me be clear in saying that I am not saying that I think it was a good trade. I'm not like I'm trying to diagnose why it happened, not cope to personally say.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
They did it because
how do you distinguish?
You wait and see. You wait and see if his ankle magically heals in New York this week. That ankle that he was walking around. I mean, he was walking around in a significant amount of pain with an ankle injury last week. Then he's in a boot on Friday. Then
what's that got to do with anything?
In a boot. No, well, I think it's a step one in terms of, was this a guy that wanted out? I'm not accusing him of faking an injury. I'm just saying.
Why did you bring that up?
Well, because that's the kind of thing we do see happen, where guys are injured and there's like some behind the scenes.
You can't
rumblings.
put one case by other players. Think about how they play. That'll tell you who his personality is. Do you think he would really want to miss a game the way he plays? Just think about that for a second. Just think real quick. And then that will tell you what makes up that player.
I hear you. What I'm saying is it's things like that, starting with that and moving on in New York, what we hear from as he gets acclimated to that team, what we see from him on the field on Sundays and the way that he plays and the way that he develops. That's the way that you have to judge this, to me, is you have to judge this based on how the rest of his career goes. And we can't know that. And if there were culture fit problems, do we see any signs of that going forward? Because if we don't, then it's either
this dude was a dog, man. That dude with no culture problem. We had heard nothing. So this is BS. This is BS. And anybody wants to believe when coaches sit down and tell you a bunch of freaking lies and then you go write about it, that's BS. The head coach got up there and said there was no problem. None. So how do you take that? You said he shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I don't think that.
He said the truth.
I don't think that reflects what the organization actually thinks and what actually happened. I don't.
Oh, so he's not part of the Blaine. That's why I said he's dead man walking then. I mean, he's just a speaking head. He's nothing.
Let me leave it at this, Blaine. You make a strong statement there about you think this is BS. You think he's a dog. You don't think he's a culture problem. And
he's not faking no injury.
I want to be super clear in saying that I am just trying to figure out what's going on here. I was and still am a big fan of Jarvis Brownlee's game. I was elated when the Titans drafted him. I was pleased with his 16 starts with the Titans and felt like he was still a guy that was rounding out some rougher edges but could be a really good player in the NFL. I still think that he can. And so my gut tells me that this was a mistake. But clearly, the team wanted him gone for some reason, and I'm just trying to figure out why that is.
Is that because they wanted to play their draft picks and the coaching staff said no because he's not better than them?
It's on the board.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you mention that part, though.
I do want to.
I mentioned the guys behind him. I said that could be a part of it.
I do want to mention this. I still don't know what the culture is. We keep saying culture fit and all this stuff, and like I guess I agree with Blaine in the sense of they keep saying culture fit, but you've been at practices, you've been in the locker room, I've been at the practices. We heard Jarvis Brownlee Jr. be excited to take the next step as a leader for this team. How is that not a culture fit? Like, what is the culture they're really trying to build, Easton? This will be our last question before we have to let you go.
I wish I had
your guess. I guess your guess.
Yeah, I gotta say, I wish I had a satisfactory answer for you, but this is all going to be speculation on my part because I don't know for sure, and I'm still kind of trying to dig on that. I think that they want a culture of smart players who are coachable and who are accountable and who are clean in the way that they play. And when they make mistakes, they don't make the same mistakes twice.
Well, then they have about 30 other players they need to trade to get out of here because there's about 30 players they have that don't fit that.
You're right about that.
Ain't no joke. That's why they have a losing record. All right. Thanks, Easton. I know it's a wild one, but we appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. All right. Easton Free.